Okay, so I'm going to document everything I do to create this showcase frame for MSE from A to Z so that it'll act as a kind of tutorial. So the first thing you do is you start at the card image gallery of Wizards, and here you can download all the cards in 8 different languages. So that's what I went ahead and done. All the cards are here, all in 8 language. Now, we're gonna need 8 different frames. The 5 normal colors, then the gold frame, the artifact frame, and the colorless frame. So I went ahead and sorted the cards by color. There's the first problem, which is that there are no white cards. There are only cards that have a white right half and cards that have a white left half. So we're going to have to cobble these two together. And in the center, there's always going to be a gradient with another color. So we'll have to figure something out for this. There's also another problem, which is that there is no colorless frame. So once I've downloaded all the cards, I ran this text box cleaner program that I wrote, which I have another video specifically on making blanks, which explains where you can get this program and how it works. But basically, it essentially cleans as much as possible the text boxes. So this is the result. It's piecing together multiple different frames and always keeping the parts that don't have text. So that's why the image is kind of really weird, because sometimes it's taking from one card, sometimes from another. And but you can see that the text is almost all gone. So this program is really useful for the text box, for the type line, and the name line. For the rest of the frame, we're going to do that manually because you can see that it doesn't work. Once I have ran the script on each of these different folders, it just gives me one card per folder, and I've went ahead and loaded all these in GIMP. So now, for example, you can see there's the result for the right green part. There's the result for the left green part, and there's the result for the pure green part. Now we can combine these different green frames to further clean them. So you can see that Huatli always had some mana symbols at this particular spot on the card. Now, I'd like to keep Huatli's frame because it's completely green, so I don't have to cobble the left half and the right half together. If I use this, it's all in one package. But here, we don't have any information about the pixels. So what I can do is, I have this information on the frame which was made with only the left green cards. And so if I put this layer behind the layer of Huatli, I now select this Huatli layer, and I'm going to select the pixels that are black, and then I'm just gonna delete them. And just like magic, they disappear because they're replaced by the pixels that are behind, which are essentially the same frame for this half of the card. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do this for everything I can. So like this here can probably be eliminated. Yep. And also this symbol. I don't actually plan on implementing this symbol in the frame. It's gonna be too much work. So I'm just gonna go with the vanilla frame. So if I pull up the green left frame, you can see that for the green left frame, I left out the Huatli cards from the folder, so it doesn't have this transformation symbol. So now I can just go on the Huatli frame and basically delete this symbol, and it'll be replaced by the green left part. I'll do the same thing as much as I can to all the other frames, and we'll skip ahead to see the result. Okay, I'm done with all the frames except for the white one. I thought I'd show you in full how I do at least one of them. So I ran the text box cleaner on an amalgamation of all the frames that had a white left half, and this is the result. It's very good to get rid of the text. The more cards you put in, the more the text is removed, except for like this little part. This little part is always there because here you don't have a lot of words that can occupy this space. It's only the types and supertypes, and so I guess these pixels are in all the types of magic, and so they're always there. But it's a very minor problem. The other problem is that when you use a lot of different cards, the art tends to bleed into the frame. And so for that, I ran the program again, but this time only on Amalia here. And so you can see it's worse at getting rid of the text, but the upside is that the art is not bleeding into the frame. So we're basically going to take this part here from Amalia because it's nice and clean, and then we're going to paste it on top of this part here, which has the text clean, so we get the best of both worlds. Now this, I wonder if I can get rid of it. Oh yes, it looks like it. Nice. Okay, so same thing for the left half of the card. I noticed that this guy here, Kutsil, is relatively out of the frame except for this little part here. So we're going to take him, all of this, and gonna paste it onto this frame here to get rid of it. And then for this part that Kutsil is on, we have this card where this guy is not on the frame, so we'll take this part here and paste it onto here. Okay, so basically we've extracted the frame. The casting cost, unfortunately, all the cards with a white right half had 3 mana in their casting cost, so we'll have to remove this manually. So then finally we have to merge the white left and right halves, and we're gonna basically do that very stupidly. Just delete the left half from this and merge the two together. Merge down. Okay, so you can see there's a big problem here. This is because the only info we have are cards that are blended with other colors, so we're gonna have to fix this problem later. And also here, same problem. Now, I'm not too worried about this because I have decided that I'm going to cheat a little bit to easily get rid of this, which will slightly diminish the quality of the final product, but I believe it'll be almost imperceptible, and it's gonna save me a lot of work. So when you're making templates, you really gotta look out for these time savers, where if you can save yourself 2 hours of work, and the problem is that there's like 10 pixels that won't have the correct color, just do it, dude. Just do it. So I'll show you what I mean by all that shortly, but first we have to do another step, which is a more in-depth cleaning of this artifact frame. For the casting cost, one thing you can do is select an area that encompasses it a little bit wider than the casting cost. Then you copy it, and now what you're gonna do is you're gonna try to find somewhere on the card where this fits, okay, where the edge of the selection fits with the background. Okay, so we can try here. Here it doesn't really work because this part is way too bright. Okay, so you search for a part on the card where it fits in. So like maybe here on the right, it fits in super well. Here it doesn't fit too well, but like already half is pretty good. So what you can do now is you say to new layer, reselect the casting cost, but as tightly as possible this time. And with this selection, we're gonna take it from the card here and just paste it over the casting cost, right? And so you can see here, it blends in super well. Now here, doesn't work too well. You can, if you look and you know that I've done this, you can see the circle where I've pasted it, right? So this part here, we're gonna try to make better. Now, normally what you would do here is you would whip out the almighty smudge tool. But the problem is that with this frame, it doesn't really work because this frame is very high contrast, very noisy. It's not at all smooth. So when you try to smudge, you immediately see the smudged area, right? It really stands out, and that's not great. So unfortunately, the smudge tool is not as all-powerful as it usually is on this type of frames. It's still useful, but for very minor adjustments. So we can try the same trick. Copy this part here and try to find some place on the frame where this part fits, right? And so I had looked before, and I think like around here it fits pretty well. See, there's this red part on the bottom, this dark part on the top, right? So if you put it here, kind of fits really well. And our problem was that to the right there was something that didn't blend with it. So what we do is to new layer, and now we select this here, and then we do a sort of like tentacle selection. I don't know how to call it, wiggly selection, like this. And we take this from the card, and then we're gonna paste it where we got the thing from. So right here. It was like about here, I guess. And so now the edge has been sort of removed, right? So now if you look in, if you de-zoom, then looks a little bit better. Kind of looks like stains, right? And basically this whole thing is just stains everywhere. So here we can also try to maybe more simply just do a tentacle selection over here, or a wiggly selection, and try to paste this here like this, so it continues this light patch a bit inside what we've pasted, right? And so now if you zoom out, it kind of looks okay, right? So that's casting cost done. So next, we're gonna wanna take care of these guys' heads. So this bar here is the same on all the cards. It's not colored. So we can go ahead and find a card where the art doesn't overlap here. So we got Veto here. And so we can just take this from Veto and paste it here. And that's done. And then this shadowy part is, since it's very thin, it doesn't have a ton of structure, and so you can easily paste big swaths of it over the art, right? I just take this, maybe flip it for good measure so it doesn't look completely pasted, right? And then paste it again, put it here, right? And then take the smudge tool and try to create little gradients on the edges so it blends in better, right? If you move away and you come back and you can't tell where the edges of the thing you've pasted were, then you're basically good, right? So we're gonna do this here as well. Paste it, flip it, paste it again. Try to blend the edges a bit. I can't even tell where the edges are, so we're good. When there are like standout features, like this little brighter pixel, I mean, it's hard to define what a standout feature is, but like things that catch your eye from afar, you can try to erase them, because since they've been copied from somewhere else on the card, the human eye will catch it if it's copied, right? So you want to eliminate things that stand out. And finally this here. Right, so here we have a pretty big edge, so we have to smudge it a little bit. Not too much, use a very small brush, because this frame is so high contrast, high noise, that you can't really use big smudge brushes. For the heads, I'm going to paste adjacent parts of the image. I'm gonna paste many small chunks so that it's less obvious that I've pasted them in. And I'm gonna continue using this trick of the wiggly selections. The wiggly selections help because if I paste, for example, a rectangular region, then it creates a sharp edge, which is very noticeable. And so using a wiggly selection breaks that edge. Also, I try to recreate this shape but flipped, so that I can copy, paste, flip it, and put it over here. Because if you flip the thing, it's less obvious that it was pasted. Flipping vertically is generally not desirable because sometimes there are light games. So, for example, you'd have the sun shining from the top, and so things have a shadow underneath them. And so if you flip a part of the card, then suddenly the shadow is not consistent with the rest of the card. But if you flip it horizontally, then generally you don't have this problem. So you prefer flipping horizontally. So finally, I need a flat bottom. And now we can zoom out and see if there are any things that stand out. So I noticed this part is repeated here. I caught that, so I'm gonna try to change it. Maybe come here, select some high contrast pixels with a wiggly selection, and then paste that over here so it changes it. This here, there's like seemingly a line, so I'm gonna try to break this line. And this thing, I'm pretty sure this is from the original frame, but it just triggers me, this blocky thing, so I'm just gonna change it. I'm gonna show you two alternate methods of getting rid of these heads. So the first one is using the heal tool right here. So with the heal tool, the first thing you want to do is paste some pixels on top of the region that have the same color as the surroundings. So for that, I'm going to select this region, then I'm going to go move tool and select this mode here, selection. And so now when I move, it moves the selection outline and not the pixels that are selected. So I'm gonna select this region here, get back to normal move tool, otherwise next time I use it I'm gonna be very confused. Then copy, paste, move these pixels here, and anchor them. And now we can use the heal tool. So the heal tool, the way it works is you first select a region from which it's gonna take the pixels. So to do that, you hold the control key and then you click on this region here. And then whenever I click somewhere else, it's gonna take the pixels from this region and paste them here. And then it's gonna blend the edges of what it just pasted with the surroundings. Okay, so you can see when I clicked here, you can see these two bright pixels, two dark pixels that come from here. But the edges have been blended with the surroundings, so it looks like it fits, right? And so I'm just gonna heal the edges of the selection, right? And I gotta be careful not to go too close to this line here, otherwise when I heal it's gonna pull these pixels inside what I just pasted, because that's what the heal tool does. It aggregates what's around where you paste to blend what you paste inside. So I want to cancel this with Control Z, and then the interior is gonna be basically the same, so I can also use the heal tool here, taking another region and then pasting this region like that, and it's gonna modify the content so we don't see that it was pasted from here. So that's how you use the heal tool. You constantly shift the place where you're sampling pixels from, then heal a bit, change it, heal a bit, stuff like that. And then in the end it looks pretty good. It's sort of like a smudge tool. The last method I want to show you involves downloading a third-party plugin, which is called the Resynthesizer, which is an amazing plugin and it's free. I'll put a link in the description. And when you download it, it comes in the form of a zip archive, which once extracted should look something like this. It's a bunch of Python scripts and 2 executables. And so what you do with these is you go to GIMP, Edit, Preferences, then you go all the way to the bottom to Folders and select Plugins. Then you select the one with the app data in the name and click on this icon so it opens in the File Explorer, and open the plugins folder, and you're gonna just copy everything from here into here. You don't need to copy the readme, but copy everything else. I've already done it, so I'm not gonna do it again. Once you've done that, it's important to close GIMP completely and reopen it, and then you'll have new options that will be added to the menus. So the one that interests us is filters, enhance, heal selection. So first of all, you gotta make a selection for this. So I'm gonna select the head once again. And once you've done that, go to filter, enhance, heal selection. You're gonna specify where it's gonna take pixels from to fill in this this selection. So I don't want it to take pixels from the bottom because these pixels are not of the kind that I want this to be filled with. And so I'm gonna select sides. Now my selection is about 50 pixels wide, and I made sure that there are actually 50 pixels worth of stuff I want to sample from to each side. So I can go with 50 here. If there's some other features in the way, you might have to reduce this, but generally put it at the same value as the width or height of your selection. Then you just click OK, and it's going to fill the selection with patterns that look like the places you set it to sample from. You can, of course, finish it off with a bit of smudge or healing. So, for example, take this part here and just like heal the edges. Then, taking care of these, pretty straightforward. Just copy some pixels that are next to them over. Always try to take the pixels in diagonal. Like, don't take the pixels here, take the pixels here, like this. So that way you don't introduce horizontal or vertical lines, which are very noticeable. Here there's a bit that's on top of this line here, and so what we do is we take a part of the line that's over here and paste it over. Try to keep the flow of the line. Looks alright. Could have been better. Top it off with a bit of smudge. For the set symbol, I'm gonna take this part of the image, copy it, paste it over in a manner where it sort of superimposes itself correctly on the background. So like here there's this dark black that's kind of similar to this one. Now to new layer, because I don't want to paste this entire rectangle. All I want is the set symbol, so select the set symbol again. And now get back to this layer, invert the selection so that the pixels selected are the outside ones, and delete. And so now we have this here. I see it's a bit too light, so maybe we can shift its lightness a tiny bit down. That seems to be too much. That seems alright. And merge it down. It doesn't have to be perfect. First of all, you don't actually want to make perfect looking cards because that would facilitate counterfeiting. So you want there to be a little bit of errors here and there. And then second of all, there's going to be a set symbol here. So even if it's not perfect, it's going to be hidden by the set symbol. Deleting this transformation symbol is going to be pretty tricky. Now, thankfully, the blue frame is kind of in the same tone as the artifact frame generally. So, in the first approximation, I'm going to take the blue frame, take this part here, and paste it onto the artifact frame to have like a starting reference. Now, it's not gonna be good enough because it doesn't have the same tone, you see, as here. But this part here that's in the shadow can sort of do the job. You can see it kind of blends in with the artifact frame here. So I think I'm gonna keep this from the blue frame and slightly tweak it. And then for this interior part here, we are gonna copy either this part here or this part here. So let's see how we do it. First, I want to take care of this. So maybe first, I don't want to paste in anything that I don't have to. So all this. And nothing more. So delete this part. Then merge it down. Yeah, no, maybe not merge it down yet. Keep it on a separate layer. And this part here, we're gonna pray that it has the same shape as this part. See, I can't just simply take this part and paste it here because, as you see, maybe it's more obvious on this blue frame. This part here is in the shadows and this part here is in the light. So I can't just flip this part and paste it here, because then the card seems to be illuminated from both sides, which will look odd. So that's why I'm gonna keep the shadowy part from the blue frame, but this interior part here has a more neutral lighting, so I'll be copying it from somewhere else on the card. So take this part here, Copy it, paste it, flip it. Wait. And select the correct layer. Move it over here. That looks alright. Don't want to paste anything I don't have to though. So only this part here. And merge it down. Now you see this part is too light because this part of the card is supposed to be in the shadow. So take this, maybe lower its lightness a bit. That's a bit too much. And then we can do a tiny bit of smudging. Yeah, it looks acceptable. Here there's a nasty edge. Okay. Here as well, there's not enough black pixels. Still not enough. Okay. I can't paste more from the white card from the blue card because the other pixels are too blue. So I'm just gonna smudge the border. Hope it looks alright. Yeah, we're getting there. Looks kind of like the blue frame. Maybe this pixel here needs to be darker. These pixels here also need to be darker. Yeah, we pretty much got there. Okay, does it kind of look round enough? Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, now this part here also seems to be common to all the frames. Isn't particularly colored, so I can just take it from the blue frame, paste it in. Paste it here, please. Thank you. This part here. Anti-aliasing, yes. Should be black. Okay. Maybe I can take it from the black frame. From the blue frame, I mean. Get these pixels back in tone. This one is too blue. Just smudge it repeatedly from left to right, and it'll become an average of what's to its left and to its right. So if you have like this pixel is still too blue, I just smudge it from the left, smudge it from the right, smudge it from the left, smudge it from the right, and it loses its blue tint. It picks on the tint of its neighbors. Alright, how do we look? Yeah. Yeah, we look pretty good. Alright. Okay. So now we gotta still take care of this inner thing here and maybe this top here. Now this top here should be pretty straightforward. I think we can just copy paste from here. Gotta paste that over this layer. And then for the corner, we gotta wing it. We're gonna try to use the smudge tool as always. God bless the smudge tool. Alright, not too bad, not too bad. For the interior, I want to take this part of the card, get it over here, move it over this layer, adjust it vertically. Is that good? Like that, maybe not like that. Then adjust it horizontally, so the edge is here. So move this like this. Now, what I really want is this part here. The rest I do not want to paste, so delete it. And now it looks like for here, that's pretty good, but this is not good. This part here. So from here on up, gonna need to find something else. This won't do. And also this part here, I actually want to keep from the original frame. Okay, so this looks not too bad. We're gonna have to find something for here. So I'm gonna go ahead and merge this down. Yep, looks alright. So for this part, I'm gonna take it from here. And then we'll have to see how we do. Okay, align it. Yeah, pretty much perfectly aligned. And the part that we want is this part. and then do some wiggly selection to help it blend with the other layer we've pasted. So it was this layer, yeah. So delete the rest. Okay. That's a very good start. Now we can tweak it a bit. I almost want to move this up one bit and to the right. Yep. Okay, so it's just this plus this. Okay. So yeah, I'd say it's going pretty well. Okay, but now there are some discontinuities between all the things we've pasted, so we gotta address that. So first, this part is a bit too dark. So we're gonna select it. And slightly increase its lightness. Damn it, my mouse sometimes scrolls without my consent. It's an amazing mouse. Okay, so just a tiny bit brighter. Can't really, it doesn't really look good. Let's try brightness contrast. Increase the contrast and increase the brightness. Yeah. Not too happy with that, but it'll have to do. Okay, then this part we can just take from here. Wrong layer. So first, this part here should not be pasted. Yep, that looks good. And then here I want to blend in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add a layer mask. It's completely opaque, and then I'm gonna create a gradient from white to black on the layer mask. So that it blends in to it. See, if I disable the layer mask, looks ugly, but if I enable it, it blends in towards it. And if you don't understand what I just did, don't worry, I'm gonna do it again soon and explain in full detail how it works. Okay, so merge this down. Now, this boundary here needs a bit of smudging. So first of all, these pixels here are a bit too light. And then not too much, because we still want a strong contrast between the two regions, but they do need to blend in a little bit better with each other. Is it making things better? Not clear, eh? Okay, so clearly here. Yeah, a little bit better. This could be a bit more smooth, so it's more rounded. Here, I don't know what's happening. Why are these pixels of this color? I don't know. Alright. I think it's much better. Alright. Won't get any better than this. I am not skilled enough for this. This is really very, very hard. But, I mean, that'll have to do for now. Alright. Okay, this part here as well is a bit weird. There are these this band of pixels that are really too dark for comfort. Yeah, that's better. And for now, this'll do. We'll probably revisit this once we've worked on other parts of the frame. But for now, it's gonna do. We want to get rid of this notch here because that's for double-faced cards and we don't intend to implement this feature. So I'm just gonna copy some pixels from here and move them over here. Maybe flip them vertically. Yep. To a new layer. Delete a bit. So it blends in better. Then merge it down. Smudge the edges. Standard stuff. And then, where's the edge here? Well, if I can't tell where the edge is, we're good. Then take this. Paste it here. And now we can get rid of this. this part here is part of the image actually. So we'll see what we do with that because it's actually quite clunky to have just two stripes here that are part of the image, because now when you want to make a custom card you need art that can go further down here. So you basically need a very tall art piece, and for what? For just two bands here, which probably won't have anything interesting going on in the art piece because it's like the edge of the art piece. So we'll have to come up with something to fill them in if the user doesn't want to have a tall art piece, so that way the user can get away with just adding an art piece that has the landscape format. I have my idea on how we'll do this. We'll see that later. So now the last thing we want to do on this artifact frame is get rid of the stamp. And that's going to be rather easy. This bar here we can just copy and paste over here, and I'm actually gonna do it like this. And then like this. And we have these bars that are noticeable features. So when I zoom out, you can see these bars are repeated. So we're gonna copy some pixels here, paste them over the bar so that it looks a little bit different. And then probably do the same thing over here. Maybe add a bit of smudge. And we got the bar. Okay. Then these two rows of pixels should be black. And now we're gonna paste parts of the card over the rest. Needs a bit of smudging here. Alright. So, is there a part with some red? There's here. Let's try and take this. What happens if I paste it here? To new layer. Delete this part. Does it look good? It's alright. This part here does not look good. So we're gonna do a pasted flipped. Delete a bit of pixels so it blends in better. Merge it down, smudge it. Don't smudge too much. Yeah, these are not too bad. Alright. Delete this. Actually, we can delete a lot more. Sure. Merge down. And now the bottom is not that great. And I think we're gonna do the layer mask trick of adding a gradient. This. New from visible. Delete layer, add layer mask. Okay. All right. Let's now delete the image. So for the image, I notice it's a circle, so we're going to use the ellipse select. And we're going to put it right here in the middle of the black border, and here as well. And then I'm gonna adjust the height so that it's more or less aligned with this. Now I gotta adjust on top as well, so I'll change the curvature. Now get back to the bottom. Look here. It looks like the selection is going through the black line. Adjust the top again. Well, actually the top looks like it's more or less correct. Maybe 1 pixel higher. Yeah. And the bottom also 1 pixel lower. Okay, perfect. So we've got the selection. Now we want to remove from this selection this part here. Everything that's above this line should not be in the selection. And then also remove this. And these pixels here. Maybe this one. I don't know. Alright. Then these as well. We can tweak it after we've done an initial selection. So then remove everything that's above, below this line, I mean. And then maybe free select here. Okay, remove this. Okay, this one's not at 45 degrees, that's weird. Okay, so now we can go ahead and delete the image. And there's still this part here. Let's do it with the free select. Delete that. And delete that. Now I'm gonna make sure that all the pixels on the edge of the image are really black, so that they create a good contrast between the frame and the image that the user selects. So for that, I'm gonna go fuzzy select tool, select all the transparent pixels, then go select grow selection by 1 pixel. See, what happens is when I do this, the selection just jumps 1 more pixel. And then once I have all these border pixels selected, I'm gonna go W and kill the chroma so that they become completely black, but they keep their transparency. I also removed the border, nothing too interesting to see there, and you don't really have to do that. It's just if you want to create silver bordered cards, but that's one of the least important things. So now this frame is pretty much cleaned. So we gotta do the same thing for all the other frames. But first, I wanna do the little trick I was talking about, the cheat that's gonna save me a lot of time. I'm going to paste the middle of the artifact frame onto each of all the other frames. So first I'm going to do it, and then I'll explain what the downsides and benefits of doing it are. First, we create a new layer, which will be the layer mask for the thing we're going to paste. So this layer mask will be a gradient from black to white, starting here like this. So I actually want to have the white start about here. So I'm going to move this here. And then it's going to start fading to black, maybe up to here, something like that. Okay. Then I'm going to make this symmetric. So delete this half, then copy, paste it flipped. Then I'm going to restrict it to only the type line, the name line, and the text box. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, so name line, type line, and text box. Alright, everything else I'm going to make black. Why is it not allowing me to? Okay. So, if I now use this as a layer mask for the artifact layer, I'm gonna duplicate it here, add a layer mask, and then take this and paste it onto the layer mask. Here is now the result. Okay, so we have the middle of the artifact frame and it fades into transparency. So now if I put this in front, for example, of the multicolored frame, you can see that what I gain from this is pretty big. It automatically takes care of most of the art here, okay, and it also takes care of the stamp. Now I don't have to redo this stamp. Also, for the white card, we had a problem with the white card where the center of the white card we didn't have an example of. We only had white cards that blend in with other colors. So by adding this, you see it takes care of this discontinuity that we have here on the white card. So I gain a ton of work from doing this. Now, the problem from doing this is that the name box, the type box, and the text box are actually colored. See, if I just look at, for example, the green frame, this part here is a bit greenish. So maybe it's most visible with the red frame because the red frame is the more vivid one. So you see that here it's pretty red. If I paste the artifact frame on top of it, it's eliminating a bit of the color, right? So I'm kind of cheating a little bit. I am not getting the perfectly accurate frames, but honestly, if you look at it from here, when I toggle it on and off, it's very hard to tell the difference. especially if you don't know that I'm doing this. And honestly, the amount of work that this saves me is just bonkers. It's like easy 3-4 hours with this little trick. So that's what I'm gonna do. Also, for the frames, where I do have an example of a card that's completely blue, I'm going to use this reduced layer mask, which just covers the stamp and the name line where there's art, because I don't actually need to cover up the type line. The type line is generally very clean, and also the top of the text box doesn't need to be cleaned. So by adding this reduced layer mask, it only takes care of the things I care about here. We have to address this situation here on the white frame. For this, I'm just gonna paste this part here, flipped. In fact, I noticed that Wizards did some pasting of their own, like this part here is the same as this part here. Naughty naughty Wizard cutting corners. So, move this here, like this, to new layer, and then delete what we don't need. Anchor it. Probably need to do some smudging a bit on the edges. Do we? Yeah, the edge is a bit too thin. Gotta add like a pixel's worth. This here shouldn't be this color. Alright. I'll spare you the details. The other frames all have the power and toughness. So I'm gonna see if I can take the artifact frame and somehow paste it over here and try to make that work. So right now it's missing a lot of red, so I'm gonna go color levels, channel red. I'm gonna increase it like that. So now it's too bright. Try to bring it down. See this, the borders here. So we try to make it blend in. Maybe like this. Maybe a tad bit less chroma. Okay, now here there's this stain that seems to need a lot more red, so that's what we're gonna give it. Levels red, Increase that like 60 maybe. Decrease the lightness. Maybe increase the chroma this time. I don't know. Shift the hue. Yeah. Something like that. Now there's this part here. So invert the selection. Intersect selection with this. Now this also needs, I don't want that pixel. This also needs some red, but not as much. Maybe, yeah, 15, 20, I don't know. Let's go 28. Decrease the lightness. Ooh, pretty nice here. Okay. And then here, there's like a bit that's even more red. I cannot select the thing. Thank you, GIMP. Jesus. Alright. Something like that. Okay. That's pretty nice. Now in doing all this, we inadvertently increased the chroma of this part here and this part here, which we do not want. So kill the chroma. Smudge the edges. And now this part here, the border, we also increase the chroma by too much. Merge this down to the red frame. Select this, copy paste it, flip it, paste, and smudge. Okay. Here, also smudge. So yeah, I think it looks alright. Looks like we're done with the power and toughness, at least for the red frame. Gotta do that 6 more times now. For the box itself, we're gonna go fuzzy select with a threshold of 16. Click on the border. That seems to select the edge of the PT box pretty nicely. Maybe this we don't want selected, and like this we do. And also we want this to be selected, so that now we can just delete. And the PT box seems to be symmetric, so with this selection still active, we're gonna invert it and then intersect it with this. So now we have the bottom of the PT box selected, so we can go new layer, and we're gonna fill this with white. Now we're gonna copy it, paste it, flip it vertically and horizontally, move it up, and so now we basically get the other part for free. So anchor that down, now select it with a threshold of 0, not that it really matters, invert selection, get back to the PT layer, delete. And now we just got a little bit of cleaning up to do. Like this is maybe too colorful. This here, something like that. This here. And here I deleted 3 pixels, so let's try to be symmetric. Here, delete this and that. Here there are 2 pixels deleted, so delete 2 pixels here as well. Okay, that seems good. Now, there are still pixels that are a bit too colorful on the edges, so I'm gonna go fuzzy select the transparent pixels, select grow by 1, so that now it encompasses 1 pixel's worth of the edge. And I'm gonna go Shift W, reduce the chroma a little bit, so that you can see when I do that, these pixels here become more grayish, which is generally what I want. Now, I'd like to also add a bit of transparency to this border, just a tiny smudge. So I'm going to go add layer mask, layers alpha channel, switch to the layer mask, select the black pixels, do again the same trick, grow by 1, and now deselect the black pixels, so that all that's left is the edge in my selection. And I'm gonna go lightness and put it to like gray, so that it's a bit transparent. Now we can preview the results if we stop showing the layer mask and show the card behind it. So this is currently way too transparent, but I still have the layer mask selected, so I can tweak it and immediately see the result. So this looks pretty good, I think. Maybe even, yeah, like this maybe. Okay. Actually, it's a bit too transparent. Like this, yeah. Okay, so now we can make the shadow for the power and toughness. So we're gonna go new from visible to get a copy of this PT box, put it underneath the PT, call that PT shadow, and on the card it looks like the shadow's like about here, so maybe it's like 8 to the left and a bit under, I don't know, we'll see. So take this, go add layer mask, layers alpha channel, then on the main layer select everything and fill it with black, then move back to the alpha channel, alpha layer, select the black pixels, go select grow by 1, and now we're gonna make these like a good middle of the line gray this time. Then select grow again by 1, and now remove the black pixels from the selection. So now we have like a 2 pixel thick border selected. Then go filters, blur, Gaussian blur, and apply this Gaussian blur so it makes a better gradient here. And then we can maybe go grow 1 again. So now it grows by 1 into the black and the white. And maybe apply a Gaussian blur again. Maybe that's a bit too much. If I do that, how does it look? Yeah, okay, we'll see. So maybe we'll get back on that. So now, if I look at the actual shadow, so we have to move it. We said it was like 8 to the left. And like, I don't know how much to the bottom. So yeah, kind of like that. Does it kind of look like it's in the correct ballpark? Yeah. But of course it's way too dark for now, so select all the pixels, select the PT shadow layer mask, and adjust the lightness. We can actually show the card behind it, so we see the result. This is still way too dark. Shadow is very faint on this card, like something like that. So if I compare with a normal card, yeah, I don't know. Seems like the shadow is actually much more to the left and a bit darker. It's not going to be perfect, but it should be enough. Yeah. The edge is a bit rough, so I want to apply more blur. So show layer mask again. Select the black pixels. Select grow by 3, let's say. Yeah. And then deselect the black pixels. Now select grow by 1 and apply filter blur. Just a tiny blur. Yeah, should do it. Okay. Now we want to make sure that these outer black pixels are perfectly black, because if you look at their color right now, when I manipulated the layer mask, they got off of perfect black, and so that means that this layer, although it's hard to see, actually has a very faint shadow that's everywhere, and then makes the card ever so slightly darker. So we don't want that. So we just select these pixels and make sure they're perfectly black. To extract the PT on the other cards, we can exploit this layer mask that we created. This one here for the gold PT, and we can actually just copy it and add it to the layer group. Okay, I made a layer group that contains all the PT images, and so we go add layer mask, add, and anchor this layer mask from the gold frame, and now we can delete it from the gold frame. And so it's automatically going to apply to all the layers in the in the group. And so now we essentially have uh, all the power and toughnesses that are extracted at once. For the crown, we actually don't have an example of a card that does not have a crown. So I don't actually know what the crown is supposed to be. So I'm just going to assume that the crown is this little thing here plus this central part here. So I'm going to remove that on a separate layer. So it's going to look like this. So to do that, I had to add these little edges here. And so I looked on the card for something similar. Now, this edge here needed this light part because the sun is shining from the right on the card. And so I took that part from here. You can see there's the sun shining here. So I just copied this and pasted it here. And for this part, I took it from here and then pasted it there. MSE expects a colorless frame. So we're going to create one using the red one as base, since the colorless frame generally is like brownish. I think starting with the red is our best option. So we're going to duplicate this layer twice actually. And now if we try to hue shift it, so colors hue shift, we're gonna hue shift the parts of the frame that are not red. So you can see these parts here become kind of greenish, and that's not exactly what we want. We'd like for only the parts that are colored to become brown. So for that, we could just go ahead and painfully select each pixel that we want to hue shift. That would probably give the best results, but I'm going to show you a method that's much easier and much quicker and gives just as good results. So you go to Colors, Component, Channel Mixer, and you put the red in red channel to the max, and then everything else to 0 or -2. And so that picks out the red in the image, okay? And so now you go right click, add layer mask, grayscale copy of layer. And so now you have basically a layer mask that shows you where the red was in the original image. So we can use this now on a new version of the layer to add this as a layer mask. Okay, so gonna add anything, copy this, paste it on over here, and so now you can see that this frame is transparent everywhere where there wasn't any red. Now for now it's pretty faint, so what we can do is right click, new from visible, which creates a new layer that's exactly like this one, except it bakes in the alpha channel. Right now the transparency is baked into the actual pixels, and that allows me to take this layer, copy it entirely, and then paste it on top of itself repeatedly like that, so that it becomes more opaque. Okay, so this should be good. Maybe we'll need to do a little bit more. So let's create a restore point by duplicating this layer. Not sure we're going to use it. And now we can just overlay this on top of the red frame we had. And now if we hue shift only this part, then it's not going to touch the parts of the image that weren't very red. So if I hue shift this, you see we get much better results. The rest of the frame really doesn't change that much, right? And so we can find a nice brown, something like that. Now you'll notice that there are things that don't work as well. For example, the chroma is a little bit less responsive, and that's because what I'm hue shifting is a semi-transparent layer, so there's still going to be the red of the red frame behind it. So it's going to affect what range of color I can achieve. So if there are colors that I can't get to, maybe I'll need to use a more opaque version of this, right? I'll have to paste it on top of itself a few more times so that this has more influence on the hue shifting. Because you see, this is not really brown and this is red, but when I combine them, I get the brown, right? And so the colors I'm able to obtain are actually averages of this layer and this layer. So if this layer is too transparent, then the colors I can reach will not be very far from red, because the contribution of this layer won't be able to push the colors further enough from the red. So here looks like this is pretty good. I'll maybe tweak it a bit in the future. So now I'm gonna go disable this layer mask for a brief period of time. And now I can go right click, new from visible. And this is actually going to be our colorless frame. I didn't want to bake this layer mask into the frame itself, because now when I'm gonna reapply it by undisabling it, if I had left it enabled when I made new from visible, it would have doubled the effect of transparency on the transparent pixels, which I would not have wanted. I want to extract some of these motifs here to be able to put them on cards. So I'm going to use the same trick as for creating the colorless frame, except this time I'm going to use the green in green channel instead of the red, since the things were green to start with. Now if they weren't green or red or blue, I could start off by hue shifting the frame until they become red or green or blue, and then apply the process. Once these motifs are extracted, you'll notice that on the edges they have a different color because it was blending with the background, and so we'd like to modify these edge pixels. So to do that, we go add layer mask, transfer layers alpha channel. So this basically locks in the transparency of the pixels, and then now we can start smudging a bit. So just take pixels nearby and smudge them onto the edge pixels like this. And so this slightly shifts them towards red, but their transparency is locked in. And once we've done that for the entire frame, then we can go right click, new from visible, to rebake the alpha layer inside the pixels. I need to produce 3 masks. The first one is going to be the card mask, which will say which pixels on the card we can click on to change the color of the card. So for that, I'm using a card image. I'm going to go new from visible. Then I'm going to select the color selection tool, select by alpha with a threshold of 0. Click on a transparent pixel. So now all the transparent pixels are selected, and these are going to be on the mask the black pixels. So bucket fill black, and then all other pixels are going to be the white pixels where we can click on. This is going to be the card mask. Then second, I need a border mask. So I've been using this for a border. It's gonna do well for a border mask, so just duplicate it. Except on the mask, I need these parts to be white because they're saying where the border will be. So color this white and all the rest in black, which says this part here will not have any border. Finally, I need to produce a mask which will say where on the card does the border protrude when there is a stamp. So it's going to be like this, around here. Yeah, that should be good. So what's currently selected is going to be white, because it's going to say pixels should be here, and then outside of that we want all black, so I'm going to create just a full black layer behind it and merge this down on it. And then for this part we actually don't need anything, so we can just take it out. And this is going to be stamp border mask. We're going to start exporting all these assets. So I'm going to go ahead and create a folder for this template. I'm going to copy an existing template. I'll go with this one for no other reason than it has the correct resolution. But that'll allow me to not have to rewrite a ton of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and call this Ixalan Legends. And the first thing you want to do is you want to identify all the elements that are going to vary with color. All the elements that have different variants depending on the color. So for this frame, it's going to be the PT, the crown, the card itself, and there's also these motifs that I extracted, which also have a version for each, and I made 3 of them. So for each of these elements, I'm gonna create a folder that's gonna house all the different variations. So we already have card and crown, we need PT, we need motif 1, and then motif 2, and then motif 3. I don't need the fonts folder because there's no special fonts for this template, but I do need the holofoil folder, so I'm going to leave that in. Also, for each of these elements, I also want to create 3 files. One that's named artifact blend and then the name. So card, crown, motif 1, motif 2, motif 3, PT. So for each of these, I'll have to create this artifact blend blah 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 picture, which is just going to be a 744 by 1039 pixels wide image that's completely white. Then I also need to create the same thing but with hybrid. Okay, so hybrid blend blah blah blah. And finally the same with multicolor. So multicolor blend blah blah blah. So I'm going to go ahead and create these files now. Now I'm going to export the different images in the folders. Let's start with the PT. So we'll go File, Export As, Data, find this folder, Ixalan Legends, PT folder, and I have to export them with exactly this name. First, there's a single letter, which is encoding the color. So it's Wooberg for the 5 basic colors, M for multicolored, C for colorless, and A for artifact. And then after that, I write the name of the folder that it's in. Okay, so export this, WPT. Then export the blue one, etc., etc. So I'm going to do this for all the colors and all the 5 different elements. I'm going to export the one-off elements directly into the template folder here. So these one-off elements are the PT shadow, the different masks that I created, and this motif background image as well. I'm also right now going to create a card sample so we can find the template more easily in the template list. For this, I usually take the red card because it's the one with the most contrast, and I usually add also the red crown with it and a border. So that should be good. So I'm gonna go right click, new from visible, call that card sample, and this should actually be 75 by 104 pixels. Anchor layer, save, and then we go temporarily change the size of the canvas so we can export this as the card sample. And then revert canvas size to its normal size. We're going to start editing the style file, so I'm going to open it in Notepad++, change the name. And the first thing we're going to edit is this thing, which is what tells the template how to use the blending system. The blending system is what's going to take all these elements, which have variants for each color, and is going to blend them to create hybrid versions or whatnot. So the blending system needs to know where to find stuff, which is this part here, and then it needs to know what to do with it, which is this part here. So first here, we're gonna write the names of all the folders. So we got 5 of them. And so you always write the name followed by a slash. And then we have Motif 1, 2, 3. And then here we have the name of the file, which is essentially gonna be the same, except instead of a slash, we use .png. These two things we're not gonna change, and for these things, we'll also need a version for each element. So we need PT, we need Motif, and the only thing we need to change inside the function is the type. Everything else we leave as is. Now, for each of these elements, we have to make sure that we have a field associated with it, which will handle the display of the element on the card. So for the card background, the field associated is this card color field. You can see that in its image property, it's calling this function card underscore background, which is this one here, which is itself in turn calling the blending system on the type card. Then for the crown, we have this extra card field here. For the PT, we have this PT box field, but you can see that currently it's not calling the blending system for its image. And that's because the Fallout Pip-Boy frame that we copied to make this one actually had a unique PT image. It didn't have color variations, so it was just calling this one image. But we now have to call the blending system because on our new frame there will be variants. And so we had called the function card underscore PT, right? This function that we just defined here, and that is calling the blending system on the type PT. So then we need card motif. We're gonna go ahead and add this right here, motif, and it's gonna call card motif 1, I think we had called it, right? And then we're gonna need to add motif 2 and motif 3, but I'm pretty sure we can make do with only one field, since we'll never have the situation where two motifs are displayed at the same time. I'm pretty sure this one field can handle it, and we'll have some code added here to handle the switching. Then we also need a motif background, but this does not call the blending system. It just uses this one file here, which I'll show here, this one. These two fields, motif and motif background, unlike the PT and crown, were not already present on the Fallout Pip-Boy frame, and so they are not declared. So I have to come here and add declarations for these fields, and they'll be the same as the crown and PT fields. So just add these two, change the name, leave the rest unchanged. it's important that the Motif field has this script card.cardColor property because it's calling the blend code. And so the blend code needs to know the card color. So one easy way to do that is make this Motif field just mirror the value that is in card.cardColor. That way it's readily available for the blend code. We're finally going to take a look at all our work in action. So I'm going to create a new set, select my template. So no errors in the console, that's very rare. Looks like it's starting out pretty good. So you can see that if I change the casting cost, the whole card changes color and it blends correctly between the red and the green. That's because it's calling the blend code. I didn't have to write any of this. It was already pre-written. Now there's a bunch of things that need changing. So like for example, this stamp here is the Universe's Beyond stamp. We'll have to change that. I think it's still using the Fallout font. Yeah, that's not great. Okay. Now the crown appeared, but it seems to be behind the motif. Okay, so, well, let's start by doing these. So, the crown has a z-index of 310, and the motif has 810. Okay, so that's not good. So, we have the card color, which is the frame, is at 210. So the crown should be about this level. So 310 looks good. The motif should be behind the card background. So should be lower than 210. We have the border at 100. So I'm guessing we have border, then motif background. So motif background would be then 110. And then motif, so 120. And then we'll have the crown at 300. That should be good. If you're wondering why I'm using multiples of 10 instead of like doing 11, 12, 13, it's because that leaves gaps between the motif and the motif background, for example. So if later I want to suddenly insert a new element between these two, I have some wiggle room, right? I can give it like 115 and I don't have to renumber everything to push it out of the way. So if I save this and in MSE reload the data, the crown should pop out in front. Yep, that looks good. And we have even the motif. So that's nice, that's taken care of. Then we said using the Fallout fonts. So this goes in name. It's right here. The usual font is Belrin Bold. And I think for the type, it's also Belrin Bold. I'm not sure about that one. And then italic name, there is no difference on normal frames. I don't ever think you have italic in the type line. And the color is black, I think, pretty sure, in the name as well. So changing this. Yep, that's pretty good. Now, of course, these don't have the correct size and they're not at the correct spot now because fonts are weird. You never have two fonts that have the same size. So we have to change it. So let's look at another frame. This frame has the top at 53, the height at 52, and the size at 29. Okay, so let's copy this. Generally, it's pretty consistent between frames where the height of the hold on, changing the wrong thing, where the height of the thing is. So what did we say? 53, 52, 29. Save, reload data. Yeah, that looks better. It's probably a bit too high, but we'll do these micro adjustments later. I'll show you how. For the stamp, I'm just gonna copy the code from another frame that has the same resolution, but that is not a Universes Beyond frame. So I have this Capena Art Deco frame here. Just take this and paste it right here. And then we need the assets. So the assets are here in this holofoil stamp. Copy it and paste it here. Replace two files, yeah. So basically these are just the each of the these stamps with a transparent background. So like, for example, the alchemy stamp, yeah. And the card stamp field is calling this card stamp holofoil method. So I also have to copy that from here. It's up here, this one. Save the file, reload the data, and we're good. I want the user to be able to change this motif and also replace it with the card illustration if they want to, and also possibly disable the motif background. So to give them all these choices, we're going to add styling fields, which are basically choice drop downs that will appear here. So in the style file, they're right here just before the main fields. And so we're gonna first of all delete these two which are not needed on this frame, the HUD and the scan lines. These were for the Fallout Pip-Boy. And we're gonna add a choice field, which is going to be called, I don't know, what can we call it? Maybe layout, something like that. We'll see about that. Maybe we change it later. And so the options will be extended art, landscape. We'll see what the difference is in a second. Then we'll have motif 1 through 3, and also no motif. And the initial will be motif 1, I believe. Okay, and then we also want a second styling field, which will just be a boolean, which will enable the motif background. And initial is going to be yes. Okay, so on their own, these don't do anything. We're gonna have to now write some code that will read the value of this field and adjust accordingly. Also have to change the description. Okay, so first for the motif, we can go on the bottom. Here we had this motif field. So right now it's just calling the motif 1, but now we can make it read the value of this styling field. So if styling.layout equals motif 1, then we use this, and then else, if it's motif 2, then we use motif 2, else we use motif 3. Right, so it's just gonna read the value of this styling.layout field and call the appropriate blending method. Now, it should only be visible if the field styling.layout contains let's say if it's equal to one of these three. Or motif 2 or motif 3. In any other case, this should not be visible. Okay, so let's already see that in action. Is it working? Did we bork it? Okay, so you can see these two fields have been added, layout motif 1 and motif background. So if I change this, it does change the motif. Okay, that's pretty good. Motif 3, alright, nice. And then no motif, it's not visible. And extended art, it's not visible. And extended art landscape, not visible. Okay, so that's the correct behavior for now. Then we have this motif background. So for this, that's an easy one. We just add visible styling dot motif background. Okay, so this styling field is a boolean, so inside it there will either be the value yes or no depending on what the user chose. And so if the value that the user chose is yes, then this is saying okay, so yes, this field will be visible, and no otherwise. So that's all we need to do for this one. So now file, reload data, and we can now turn off the background. This is not on Canon cards, but I actually like the look, so I thought I'd add this option because I might use it myself. So now we're going to take care of the extended art options. This basically boils down to finding the bounds of the illustration field in each case. So in the normal case, the bounds should be limited to this ellipse in the center. So basically we have to precisely determine at which pixel it starts and at which pixel it stops. So it has to start here. Then on top it has to start here. On the bottom it has to stop here, and on the right it has to stop here. So these are the bounds if there is no extended art. And the bounds are actually written nicely here in GIMP. So this is the left coordinate, this is the top coordinate, this is the width, and this is the height. So we go back to our style file and we get the illustration field, image. So the image will have 4 possibilities. We either stretch image to the whole card, which is used to make pop-out art effect. This will always be the same. It will always mean that the image starts on the top left corner and spans the entire width and height of the template. Then this will be the last option when there's no extended art. So this is the one we just saw. So it's going to be 49, 121, 49, 121, and then 648, 454, 648, 454. Then we'll have the extended art landscape, which is going to be like this. So it's going to protrude up here and replace the motif and motif background. But we're gonna still make it stop here. So it still has this landscape format, kinda. So gonna go ahead and copy these. There we go, I've written these here. So this is going to be our third option if the user selects extended art landscape. And then finally we want a fourth option, which is going to be if the user selects only extended art, and this is going to correspond to the image encompassing these stripes as well. Now this is actually the canon way that cards work, but it's super clunky because you basically need an art piece that can stretch down here, and for what? For 2 stripes that are probably not gonna have anything interesting happening. So I'm including this option in the actual card because it's the canon option, but I'm pretty sure no one's ever going to use this. So just going to copy these bounds. Should be the same first 3. The only one that changes is this one here. Okay, so these are the possibilities for our image. And so let's see if it works. Probably gonna have to adjust the Z index. So save, file, reload data. So now we should see the image. Okay, it's filling this nicely. Okay, now if I select extended art landscape, it's not filling the thing nicely. Oh, and that's because the image is currently behind the border. Okay, so let's see if I can just put the image. Where do I want it? I think I actually want it between the motif and the motif background. So it's actually going to be the 115 I was talking about earlier. So let's try that. Image 115. File save. File reload data. And now it's alright. So you can see it's protruding here, and it also has a square corner, which is not really desirable, so we're gonna have to add a mask to it to stop it from having these ugly corners here. But otherwise, it looks like it's working correctly. So just create the mask and then get back to you. Alright, I've created these two masks. So go here and add them, mask. If we have landscape, then I think I said it was image mask, extended landscape, and otherwise, if we are extended art, then it's just extended art, and otherwise, we don't want any mask. Let's see this in action. And actually, I think what is it saying? Yeah, we got a then here, and a then here. I changed my mind. I actually want this to be on top of the motif. I initially thought I could maybe do a thing where the user can have the motif be on top of the art, but that's going to be too complicated. So, extended art. Okay, looks good. Extended art landscape. Yeah. I realize now that when you have extended art landscape, it disables the motif here. And even if I were to not disable it, you can't really choose which one it is without disabling the extended art. So actually, this is not the correct setup. I actually want one styling field that will determine the bounds of the image, and then another styling field that's independent that determines the motif. So these two can be changed independently of each other instead of having one field that tries to do two jobs at the same time. So let's go ahead and modify this. So this stretch image to whole card we can integrate in the new field, which we'll call art layout, and this field will have 4 choices: whole card, extended art landscape, and then normal. And the initial is going to be normal. And then we'll have another field which will be called motif. It'll also be a choice field, and the choices will be motif 1 plus background. Yeah, I guess we're gonna do it like that. Then same thing for motif 2 and motif 2 plus background, motif 3 and motif 3 plus background, and then no motif plus background and no motif. I think that's how we're gonna set it up. And to be consistent, move this here. and the initial will be motif1 plus background. Okay, so now we have to change all the code that was reading these fields. So for the image, we want if styling art layout equals whole card, then this. Otherwise, if it's extended art, then this. Otherwise, landscape, and finally the normal. Okay, so I think this takes care of the image. And now for the motif. So the background, we want to check if styling.motif contains the word background somewhere. If it does, then the background should be visible. And for the motif, so it should be visible if styling.motif does not contain no motif. So not that. And then if styling motif contains motif1, then we use the motif1, etc., etc. I have to use this new contains because now I can't check for strict equality, because there are now two options that will lead to motif 1. There's motif 1 and motif 1 plus background. So instead of checking both of these, I can check them both at the same time by just saying, okay, does it contain motif 1? Then in this case, the motif 1 should be visible. And this is actually styling.motif now. And I think I did a similar mistake. Where is it? Here. Where this is art layout now. Okay. So does it work? So we have art layout, whole card. Okay, we'll have to add a mask to that. Extended art looks good. Extended art landscape, yeah, with the motif. And normal. Okay. And now the motif. Yep. Looks good. And we can change these two independently. Perfect. The last thing we want to do is adjust the height and width of all the fields precisely. So to do that, we're just gonna mimic a Canon card like this. Export this image, then open it in GIMP and overlay it over the Canon card. and then we can precisely compare the two. So for example, on the Canon card, the B starts here and ends here. So on my card, it's apparently 3 pixels too high, but the left is correct. So we go into the style file and we increase the top by 3. Then go to the casting cost. So on Canon cards, looks like it's gonna be 1 pixel higher. Yeah, and the right is correct. So again, go in the casting cost, top 55. And just like that, we're gonna do all the fields. Alright, I think that's everything we need for this template. So if you have any other questions, just put them in the comments below or hit me up on Discord. Peace.